Hey YouTube, so another Gibson. Yes, this might. Okay, this is the second Gibson Explorer I've ever played. The one I played was about 15 years ago, just when I built my Ibanez Destroyer. It was an old 70s one. It was black. It was actually kind of similar colour to that. It was all black with gold on it, I think. But I think it was 600 quid back then, which I'd imagine now is double that. But I did not buy it because I'm not spending £600 on a guitar. This would have been more than that. So this is I think this is brand spanking new. Okay, 17 is not brand spanking new. It's a 2017 one. Whoever it was had it, maybe didn't play it very much because it looks pretty much brand spanking new to me. And it's 17, that's 5 years, isn't it? 6, 7 years. It does have a hard case, which kind of explains it, as in where this guitar's been for 7 years. In the hard case, yes. So a real Explorer. I don't know. I suppose it's super iconic. This is one of the ones. This and the Flying V was it 1958 or something that came out, and it's like in 1958. I mean, it still looks super futuristic. We've got a volume tone, a 3-way selector. I'm not sure that's normal. It probably is because it'll probably be a relatively standard design. It's not bolt on, thing me neck, dusty. Set neck, body 1, 2, possibly just 2 pieces. I can see a line going through sort of round about here. I think you can never really. It's always difficult to tell. Sometimes it's really obvious, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you look at the edge, you can sort of see, but they generally tend to paint the edge a little bit. Where did I reckon that join was? Right through, right about. Yes, so there's a join there, but not quite one piece. But this is still a big chunk of mahogany. I was talking about this Grover tuners. This is it's one of those ones that you're talking about. I was talking about this in the last video with the ghost fret. I forgot to mention the ghost fret. One of the things I really liked, my favourite thing about it was it had like a Strat output jack thing going in like that, which I thought was very nice. Not that I think it really needs it. This is so you'd say this was, Explorer-y shaped, my stage series, and it kind of is, but actually when you put it next to it, you can see that there's actually quite a big difference. So when does something become Explorer-y shaped? I mean, I would have said the Ibanez Destroyers, I think, are pretty much exact copies, apart from they've got a slight hook here, like to make them an Ibanez, and there might even be a slight squiggle here. I think it kind of goes like that and then goes, oh, there's a step in it here, just so it's not like a total bump. The other one I've got, the Aria Pro, which, looking at it, is not, again, significantly smaller. The angles are all different. It's much thinner in the middle. So for this looks quite a wide thing to me because I'm used to looking at this. I've also got a West Tone Raider, which is that bit pointier. Oops. That sounded worse than it was. If only that didn't have a colour on it. What does it sound like? Neck pickup. Rat pedal. I'll just play all the edge licks that I know. There was one I knew. What's the one that goes? That one? Is that one? Hello, Yeah, so I mean, It's a Gibson Explorer. I like this much nicer than that Gothic Epiphone one I had a couple of months ago. A lot better, but I think obviously the Gibson one's a lot more expensive, but the Gothic one had a different neck profile on it. I'm not sure exactly what you would call that. This one's kind of just like a normal, like my SG type neck profile, and maybe just the look of it, maybe the satin black evil looking thing doesn't appeal to me as much as what I class to be quite a pretty shape. None of the Les Paul problems with the neck being at a funny angle. Don't have to hold it like that. It's fine. It sits there. So if you've never played an Explorer or an Explorer type guitar, it is quite bizarre having this bit here, or more to the point, not having this bit here. So the neck looks long, because you look down, you can see right up to the, what's that, 12, 15, 17, 19, see it right up to the 20th fret from here, looking down, which normally on a Strat or something, you know, you've got the horn coming up here on a Les Paul, it's kind of, you've got bits that obscure it, so the neck seems longer, even though I'm going to check it, but I'm 90% sure this is a standard scale length, 24 and 3/4 inch of Gibson. 24 and 3/4 inch of Gibson, which is what I expected. I think these are just pretty standard. I'm sure you told me when you had the guitar, if the 480s or the 498s or whatever they are Gibson pickups, same as you get in a sort of Les Paul, I think. Your typical Gibson pickup. So any sound difference between an Explorer and a Les Paul is tonally wood variantable. If there is indeed a difference. Or maybe it's just because you hold it different. It's kind of gives you a different... You'll notice I've gone to the immediate one of these. You rest your arm there. It seems it's like a wee tabletop there. Maybe if you were... I wonder... I bet you it has been used for taking lines of Colombian nose candy off at some point. You know, not this one, but... I'm sure somebody must have done that. Probably the Edge, actually. You know, it's like, here we go. Here we go. Don't condone that at all. Don't even talk to me if you take that. Can't stand folk on that. It does have a machine gunny feel to it. It's kind of mounted up and you're kind of, whoa, here we go. It's like if you're going to try and skewer a boar or something like that, it'd be something... You know, basically a piece of metal this shape would be good for just, taming the rancor, that kind of thing. That's not a euphemism, by the way. Very easy to play. Might be easy to play because I'm kind of used to, or I have played Explorer-y type guitars. I think if you've only ever really played a Les Paul or a Strat or something like that, something like this is going to be like pure, whoa, it's like the strings are in a different place, it sits funny. Well, there's the balance test, it sits perfectly. That's why I was kind of that ghost fret wasn't, so it must have a heavy neck or something, or maybe or a light body, whereas obviously they did design these things so it did actually hang properly, horizontally. The reason I got my Aria ZZB bass, which is basically that shape, but a bass, was because my pal Michael, who was also in my band, my first band, at the time when we were in between songs talking, he would sit like the way I am right now, and it was like pure, that's pretty cool, you can rest both your arms. He had a Jackson Kelly, which is an Explorer type guitar. It's a bit more, but it's got this element. So when I bought the bass, it was like, here we go, and the two of us would be standing there looking at the other guitarist just sitting there with his Les Paul, not able to do this, and he goes, yeah, thinking can't rest your arms in the guitar, and he's like, I'm aware of this. Is he going to stop doing it? No. The problem with doing that is though, that's not good if your strap's going to come off. So I'm not wanting to do it with this guitar. But it's very nice. It's not really very fancy, but that's you pay for fancy, so there's no binding anywhere on it. And I suppose it's almost a simple guitar, even though it's huge. It's you know, 2 humbuckers, pneumatic, usual volume controls. Okay, the pickup selector switch is there, which will take a wee while to get used to. You know, the necks, okay, it's got whatever that shape of headstock is, but there's nothing really outlandish about the way it's built. The only outlandish thing is the shape. The rest of it's just a kind of functional guitar. But it does have quite a lot of what do you call it? Quite a lot of character to it. I wasn't sure if I'd like it. The paint on the side of the neck's not particularly good actually. A wee bit lumpy looking, but again, it's whether you're willing to pay more money for that. I'd imagine. I mean, was there not an Epiphone one of these that came out recently? It's £1,500. So I think this is probably certainly not a cheap guitar. I would guess it's going to be £1,500, something like that. I don't know. Some people spend £1,500 on a guitar. Does get you a nice guitar though. I will say that. I've actually just noticed another thing I forgot to say about that ghost fret with its through neck compared to my Washburn here, which is a through neck also. So in the ghost fret you had like a standard stop tail. So this one's through neck, but it's got a trem. So yep, it's through neck all the way down here with a huge hole cut out of it. So it's like through neck and a strat trem. Not as worth it. It wouldn't make it if the neck was just that long. It'd be fine, but the fact it's through neck just seems a bit. It seems a bit of a waste, to be honest, this guitar. Also, so does to be honest, paint the whole guitar black when it's through neck. And it does have amazing binding. I'm not really talking about this guitar, I'm talking about this one. I would not put which is the better guitar thing going on here, because they just don't compare in the price spectacles of it. This wouldn't stand a chance, because that doesn't cost anything like as much as one of these. This is worth twice as much. Not twice as good, but that doesn't really work with any guitar, really. You know, arguments of like, okay, how much is an Epiphone Les Paul? £500. How much is a Gibson? £2,500. Is the Gibson one 5 times better than the Epiphone? I don't think anyone would ever say, yeah, it's 5 times better. I don't even think it's probably twice as good. Maybe 1.5 times as good. But that, you know, obviously the better you get, the harder it is to improve. Law of diminishing returns and stuff like that. Yeah, no, so I mean, Explorers, I guess you either get them or you don't get them. I kind of do. I quite like the Explorer. I'm not so keen on the Firebird. I've had a shot at a few Firebird. In fact, Ian's actually got a couple of LTD Firebirds. They don't suffer the same as the Firebird. Firebird kind of... This does have an element of the metal thing going on about it, even though it's from the 50s. Although I think, to be honest, they only made about 50 of them or something like that, and then they reintroduced it. You know, once heavy metal came back, once heavy metal had been invented in the 70s. But the traditionalists didn't like it. But I've always liked the aspect of this. I know what I was saying about the Firebird. The Firebird's kind of not the guitar it looks like. This is what I expected. Maybe because I've had... I mean, saying that area is a bad example, because it feels like a Strat. It kind of sounds like a Strat. It's got a Strat neck on it, and you're like, why doesn't it feel like a Gibson? Because it's not. It's a Strat that's shaped like this, whereas this is a Gibson shaped like this. Or a Les Paul or an SG or something like that. I mean, really, look at the construction. What is the difference between this and an SG? Apart from shape. But I don't think there is. I'm pretty sure whether it's exactly the same, but I mean, it certainly at one point have been available with the same pickups, the same tuners, the body's made of the same wood, the neck's the same. It's got a different shaped headstock, so I mean, okay, there's maybe differences with tension, having 6 on one side rather than 3 on each side. But I mean, ultimately, how does it make it? Is it just because of the way you look at it, the way you hold it? This, as I said, does have a very feel to it. It's kind of like pure. Yep, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Aliens when they've got the gun that's on a camera mount, the big massive gun, kind of walking about like that. I'm a little bit disappointed with the slight lumpiness of the lacquer on the edge of the fretboard, which, see if it was here, would never know. I was just talking about this in the last guitar. And this is the bit you see when you're playing. So the light keeps hitting off it, and it's kind of like a bit. It's like the lacquer's kind of sunk in and then not sunk in all the way down here. It's all right here. It's just at this bit here. Unfortunately, the one bit that you can see when you're playing the guitar, I can see this, and this in the back of the headstock. I don't see this. I see this. But I mean, it's a Gibson Explorer. I don't know. I've never really had the super hankering to own one. Really, I don't know. I don't know how these things work. Sometimes something just takes on. As I said, I had a chance of a black one a few years ago. The thing weighed a ton though, which is why I didn't like it. But I just built that Ibanez Destroyer that I put snakeskin on, and I liked it better. It was much lighter for a start. But that was a different guitar. It was like a 70s one or something like that. Worth a lot of money, but like a lot of Gibsons and Fenders from that era, nowadays they are worth a lot of money. But even going back as far as I remember, and I've not played the guitar for that, or say 20 years, when I started looking at guitars, there was still the tail end of still seeing 70s Gibsons and Fenders relatively cheap because they weren't very good. You know, it was still 400 quid, 500 quid for a Fender Strat sort of thing, you know, an American Strat, 400 quid. And it's like, oh, how come that's 400 quid? And it's just because it weighed a ton and they're not very good. Now, because it's 70s, they're up in the thousands. Whereas back then, they hadn't yet gained that. All vintage guitars are vintage, therefore good. Whereas even if you look at, I think vintage guitars, the term wasn't even really a thing until the 80s. When people were designing the vintage Strats, because the pre-CBS ones were better, and the Gibsons were better as well, because they changed companies, started making them cheaper in the 70s, so the 60s ones became more valuable because they were better guitars, whereas by the time it got to the 80s and the 90s, the 70s ones were thought of as a bit shit. You know, that's how something like, I've got a couple of Ibanez, like that white Strat and stuff like that, are kind of better than what Fender were making at the time, and cost a third as much. So those, you know, some guitars kept their value and others didn't. But then they came back up again. Actually, I was watching a thing earlier on about Kurt Cobain. My God, I'm talking about lots of stuff here. Some video lesson thing, talking about using cheap equipment, and it's true. He was using like Fender Mustangs and Jazzmasters and things like that because you could get them cheap because nobody wanted them. People wanted Strats and Tellys. The good models, they didn't want the shitty ones that weren't very good. Now, the shitty ones aren't very good or worth a lot of money. It doesn't matter whether it's really good at staying in tune, or it plays really well, or it feels really good, or it sounds really good. I think you'll find this is a 1971 Fender. It's amazing. You're like, right. Don't really matter what it is. But the prices in these things are going down. And a Gibson Explorer will always be a Gibson Explorer, I think. And as far as I can tell, this is probably quite similar to original spec. It doesn't have any crazy things that will be unfashionable. I think, you know, Gibson and Fender both learnt their lesson with that. You know, in the 80s you see them coming out with, like, Gibson came out with a Strat and then Fender came out with a Les Paul. You know, these sort of things are, and it's like people don't want different. So many guitar companies just go under because they try and do something different, and people are scared of different. Even I think you probably class an Explorer as being one of the models. You know, the 10 most important, how's it going to be? So we'll go for the most important guitar shapes of all time. Les Paul, SG, 335, Strat, Telly. There's the top 5 anyway. And then I suppose you would get Firebird, Explorer, and then I suppose you've got to have like the Gretsch White Falcon in there, don't you? Like a Gretschy type guitar, not any other specific one, just a Gretschy one. Could be any of them. I don't know. Where does it come in? And other things are all kind of derivative. I mean, would you count? Does the RG count as one of those? Possibly, because it's very influential and it's stuck and they still sell it. I don't know. I like slightly odd shapes, oddballs. But wonderful guitar. Don't have any issues with it at all. If it was priced in, if I was willing to spend the amount of money these cost, or it's great. Or it was the same price as the guitars I buy, I would totally buy one. That's Not really the case though. Good thing about guitars is you can have a really expensive guitar and strings just cost the same as they do in your normal guitar. It's not like, oh, I've got this pure amazing 80s Ferrari. Okay, that'll be cheap to run when you get like 2 miles to the gallon, the engine breaks down all the time, and a wheel costs like 10 grand. You know, that doesn't have any of that with these things. It's like, paired up. Strings are just the same, so that's the only thing you should really need to change on these things. Marvellous. Rocking, like and subscribe, all that shebang, and I shall see you later. Don't know when this video's going out. I'm on a video making day where I'm just going to make some videos and put them out when I can't be bothered doing a video. I can be bothered today, so that's when I'm doing it. When I'm in a talkative mood. Rock on, see you later.